My name is Brent Cook, and growing up, the holidays were always a super special time for me and my brother. Not necessarily because of gifts or Santa Claus coming, but because it meant that our family would gather at our cabin in the mountains of Colorado. At that point in time, it was the only time of the year that we got to ride snowmobiles. The most exciting part of the holidays to me growing up was the simple fact that I knew that we would rent snowmobiles and we would be able to ride them for at least 3 days. And boy, did I try to maximize those 3 days. Maximizing those days normally consisted of me waking my uncle up, asking him to take me snowmobiling. And the first response I would get every morning is, "Brent, we have to wait for the sun to come up." Looking back, that really shows how excited being on a snowmobile was for me, even as a very young kid. I would sit in our cabin and stare out the window and wait for the first millimeter of sun to come up over the horizon, and then I would run back to my uncle's room and wake him up and explain, "Uncle Mike, technically the sun is up now." To that he'd say, "Okay, well, I need to get my coffee and get ready," which was his way of not saying no to such an excited little kid, but at the same time, I don't really want to right now. I couldn't understand why he would take so long. I would think, geez, it doesn't take that long to throw a coat and a helmet on as I'm sitting on a snowmobile waiting for you. We're losing time and the sun is already up now. When I would finally hear the door creak open of our cabin, I would see him come out and my heart would start beating because I knew we were about to do something that would make my adrenaline go through the roof. The first thing we would do normally is make a track in the yard of our cabin. And that felt like we were at X Games going for gold, or at least it did to me as a little kid. We would go all out and make it the first day with me and my brother running around the track, while my uncle and dad would help make it better by getting bigger jumps. After that, we would normally go into the mountains. And this is where I really attribute my passion to backcountry snowmobiling starting, really. I would normally ride with my uncle and my brother would normally ride with my dad, just depending on who was going. And my family's from Arizona, so it's not really the snowmobiling capital of the world, as you can imagine. So pair a daredevil type personality like me and my uncle with a ton of lacking snowmobile knowledge, that is, we had none, and it's safe to say that every time we would go out, we would have crazy stories. His line after doing something we both knew we had no business doing was, "If you tell your mom about this, we're never gonna be able to snowmobile again." As you can imagine, my mom is now hearing some of those stories 20 years later. Fast forward, and unfortunately my uncle has passed. It is very hard to hear that news and knowing that we would never have any of those "if you tell your mom you're dead" experiences anymore. One of the things looking back that really bothers me is all those memories are just memories now. We had no cameras. I didn't even have a cell phone to take pictures at the time. People pass away or move away and the memories just fade to exactly what they are now, as memories. So I wanted to solve this problem of no evidence, and I want to start documenting these crazy adventures we went on, just like the ones we used to go on with my dad and uncle when I was a young kid getting into the sport. My brother and I decided to take action a couple years ago and start documenting all these crazy journeys, an attempt to show others backcountry snowmobiling just like my dad and uncle did to us years ago. This is how we came up with the decision to start social media in the first place, Cook Bros. We thought it would be a great creative outlet for us to share our passion and stories with others on Instagram. We have done exactly that, and I'm proud to say that we've been doing it consistently in hopes of helping at least one person experience something that really changes their lives like it changed our life. I know my uncle's watching down thinking, "Man, these idiots have gotten a lot better." And I think he can probably appreciate what he introduced us to. Maybe he thinks that the 4 a.m. snowmobile wake-up calls were somewhat worth it. Snowmobiling to us isn't about crazy lines or big jumps, although we do love that, as you can tell by our content. But it's about bringing people together and building a community of people. Family, friends, memories, you name it. The great thing about the sport to us is that every day it's completely unique, and it tends to lend a ton of stories and memories. And sometimes those are good, sometimes those are bad, but you never forget them. Riding for me wouldn't be the same without the people that I go with on a daily basis, really. The people that I remember stories with from 5 years ago, looking back thinking, what in the heck were we thinking? Those are the stories that I live for. Polaris Snowmobiles aren't just a modern engineering wonder, or a really capable snowmobile, but they're a vehicle that drives people together. They drive stories and memories, and it creates passion and excitement in all of our lives. Without renting those two Polaris snowmobiles and the people around me to deal with my abundance of excitement, I wouldn't have the crazy memories and crazy passions that I do now. And not only that, I wouldn't have the creative outlet that I do now. So I encourage all of you, get out and try a snowmobile experience. Push yourself out of your comfort zone and know that on the other side of that fear, there's priceless memories and something that you can bring yourself, your friends, and your family together.